a 12-year-old boy walked into City Hall holding a broken pocket watch that wasn't his. Security tried to stop him at the door. He said one sentence that made the mayor cancel every meeting for the rest of the day. Stay till the end, because what happens next changes his entire life. It was a gray Tuesday morning in Millbrook, the kind of small town where everyone knew everyone's name, but nobody really knew each other's story. Outside City Hall, a boy named Eli Turner stood on the steps, clutching an old brass pocket watch wrapped in a handkerchief like it was made of glass. His shoes were 2 sizes too big, handed down from a cousin. His jacket had been patched at the elbows more than once, the stitching uneven, done by his own hands. But his eyes were sharp, focused, determined. He wasn't there to beg. He was there to return something. If you believe small acts of honesty can still change the world, take a second right now to like this video and subscribe to Heartfelt Stories. It genuinely helps more people discover moments like this one. Eli's father, Daniel Turner, had been the town's watch repairman for almost 20 years, running a tiny shop on the corner of 5th and Main until a sudden illness took him the winter before. Eli remembered every tool on that workbench, every gear, every spring, every smell of oil and brass. After his father passed, the shop closed. The family had nothing left but memories and a stack of unpaid bills. What Eli didn't know, 3 weeks earlier, was that Mayor Howard Bennett had dropped his own late father's pocket watch in the parking lot outside the hardware store. It slipped from his coat pocket as he reached for his car keys, bounced once on the pavement, and rolled straight into a storm drain before he even realized it was gone. By the time the mayor noticed, it was too late. He searched for an hour in the rain, on his knees, flashlight in hand, until his assistant finally convinced him to go home. He never told his staff how much that watch meant to him. He simply stopped talking about it, the way people do when a loss feels too big for words. Eli found the watch 2 days later, tangled in leaves near the drain grate, rusted shut, the glass cracked down the middle, the hands frozen at exactly 4:17. Most kids would have sold it for scrap or ignored it completely. Eli picked it up, turned it over in his palms, and felt something he couldn't quite explain, a pull, almost like his father's voice whispering in his ear. He didn't sell it. He didn't pawn it, even though the family desperately needed the money. Instead, he carried it home and set it on his father's old workbench, the one piece of furniture his mother hadn't been able to part with. For 11 nights, Eli sat at that bench after his homework was done, after his little sister was asleep, working by a single candle because the electricity bill was already stretched thin. He used the last of his father's tools, the tiny screwdrivers, the loop, the tweezers worn smooth from years of use. He cleaned each gear one at a time, replaced a hairline spring he'd found in an old drawer, and slowly, patiently brought the watch back to life. He didn't know whose watch it was. He only knew, somewhere deep down, that something told him it mattered to somebody, and that finding its owner was more important than any amount of money it might be worth. Comment below right now if you've ever spent hours fixing or finishing something just because it felt like the right thing to do, even when nobody was watching. On the 12th day, Eli asked around town, quietly, carefully, until an old shopkeeper mentioned that the mayor had been searching for a lost watch weeks earlier. That was all Eli needed to hear. The next morning, before school, he walked the 8 blocks to City Hall, watch wrapped carefully in his father's old handkerchief, and pushed open doors that felt far too heavy for a boy his size. Security stopped him almost immediately. A tired-looking guard told him the mayor was in meetings all day and wasn't seeing visitors, especially not children who wandered in off the street. Eli didn't argue or raise his voice. He simply said, "Please tell him I found something that belongs to his father." Something in the way he said it made the guard pause. Word traveled up through the building fast. Inside, Mayor Bennett was in the middle of a tense budget meeting when his assistant knocked, nervous, saying there was a boy at the front desk asking for him by name, refusing to leave until he saw him personally. The mayor almost said no. He had 12 minutes before his next call and a room full of impatient council members. But something in his assistant's voice, a strange mix of confusion and urgency, made him excuse himself and walk out anyway. Eli stood there in the lobby, small against the marble floor and the tall columns, and held out the watch with both hands. "I think this belongs to you," he said. "It still runs 11 seconds slow. I couldn't fix that part. I didn't have the right gear." The mayor's face went pale. He took a step closer, then another, before finally reaching out with shaking hands to take it. That watch had belonged to his father, a man he'd lost years earlier, a man he could barely talk about without his voice catching in his throat. He hadn't told anyone how much losing it in that drain had wrecked something inside him. He had assumed it was gone forever, buried somewhere underground, lost the way so many things eventually are. He turned it over slowly, saw the tiny engraved initials on the back, HB for his father Harold Bennett, and realized this boy, this stranger, had spent nearly 2 weeks quietly repairing it by candlelight and asking for absolutely nothing in return. "Why didn't you keep it?" the mayor asked quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. "You could have sold the brass alone for good money. Nobody would have known." Eli shrugged, the way only a child who has never learned to lie convincingly can shrug. "My dad used to say a watch isn't worth anything if it doesn't belong to somebody who loves it." The lobby went completely silent. Staff members who had gathered in the hallway to see what the commotion was about found themselves blinking back tears they didn't expect to feel over a pocket watch and a boy in oversized shoes. If this story is moving you even a little, hit that like button now. It truly helps this video reach more people who need a reminder that good still exists. Mayor Bennett didn't just thank Eli and send him on his way. He knelt down to the boy's eye level, something photographs later showed council members had never seen him do for anyone, and asked about his father, about the workbench, about the 11 nights of candlelight spent on a stranger's broken heirloom. Eli told him everything, plainly, without asking for sympathy, about his father's shop closing, about the unpaid bills stacking up on the kitchen counter, about his mother working 2 jobs just to keep the lights on, the same lights Eli had avoided using so he could save money while he worked on the watch at night. The mayor listened to every word, and when he learned how much the family had been struggling since the funeral, he didn't offer charity, a check, or a photo opportunity for the local paper. He offered something Eli's father would have wanted for him instead. He picked up his phone right there in the lobby and called Old Man Whitfield, the town's last remaining licensed clockmaker, a man in his 70s who had been quietly planning retirement with no one to pass his shop to. Within the hour, an apprenticeship was arranged. Tuition for trade school covered. Tools provided. A future, built patiently, with Eli's own 2 hands, exactly the way his father would have wanted. Part 6, What Happened After. Word spread through Millbrook fast, not because the mayor made an announcement, but because Old Man Whitfield couldn't stop talking about the boy with more integrity in his small hands than most adults carry in a lifetime. Neighbors who had once looked past the Turner family in the grocery store now stopped to say hello. Teachers who barely knew Eli's name began asking about his progress at the clock shop. Small towns remember stories like this one, and slowly, quietly, Millbrook began treating the Turner family a little differently, not out of pity, but out of respect. Before we go any further, I want you to comment below. What's the most honest thing a stranger has ever done for you, expecting absolutely nothing in return? Eli walked out of City Hall that first afternoon without a watch, without money, without anything material at all. But he carried something else instead, the same thing his father had tried to teach him every single day at that workbench. That character isn't loud. It isn't flashy. It doesn't announce itself. It's quiet. It shows up in the moments nobody's watching, in 11 nights of candlelight nobody asked for, in a decision to return something valuable when keeping it would have been so much easier. 2 years later, Eli still works most afternoons at Whitfield's clock shop, now renamed Turner and Whitfield, the sign painted by Eli himself. Mayor Bennett stops by every few months, always to check the time on his father's watch, still running 11 seconds slow, and always with a smile he doesn't fully explain to the people around him. Some stories don't end with fireworks or fortune. Some end quietly, with a boy who chose honesty when no one was watching, and a town that slowly remembered what that kind of honesty is worth. If this story reminded you that kindness and integrity still exist in small, unglamorous places, like this video, drop a comment and share it with someone who needs the reminder today. Follow Heartfelt Stories for more true-to-life stories about kindness, honesty, and second chances. New story every single week. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. It means more than you know.